a trip to Insanity Island.
I dare you.
We're recording. We're on.
What? We're recording?
We are recording on the air.
Insanity Island live?
Right now, babies. Right. Say hey, Sheldon. Say hey, Sheldon. It's Sheldon, everybody. Look at Sheldon.
Wow. Well, we have another cat.
Yeah.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Insanity Island. Richard, tell us about your trip to New York City.
So I was in New York this week working for my company, and it is a city that has traditionally a very progressive view of things. And depending upon who's in charge, you know, it gets a little more progressive than at other times. And it's a city that also has a very relaxed attitude towards marijuana. I have not been.
You don't say.
I have not been to San Francisco in a long time, but I don't smoke pot, and I'm just not accustomed to walking down the street and seeing people
openly smoking marijuana on the streets.
8 in the morning, 9 in the morning.
That early?
Dude, all over the place.
Hey, what about the needles?
You know, I haven't seen a lot of that. There are a lot of homeless people that have set up camp on the sidewalks. And by camp, I don't mean just a mattress. I mean, literally, I walked past at one point, and there was a structure that this guy had built that was probably, I would say, like 10 feet by 4 feet on the sidewalk, and was
on a sidewalk, a busy sidewalk.
On the sidewalk. Like it was.
We got to go up there and squat in it.
It was like, it was not a small. It wasn't, again, like the guy was sort of leaning against a post. It was like a little house he had built that was a little mini mansion on the sidewalk. But it's alarming, like how many people there feel comfortable smoking weed like during the workday. And
it's weird.
Well, this is happening in most of the major cities in America. I mean, you know, lots of drug use, lots of homelessness, lots of crime. I think New York is definitely up there with all those things. But you look at San Francisco, you know, they say that city might be even worse than New York, as bad as New York is. But you saw it firsthand, though, Richard. So you can witness to us that the regime, the Democrat regime that's been in charge ever since, well, I guess Bloomberg was a Democrat, but he at least kept the city safe. Ever since Bloomberg left, you think it's gotten worse?
I don't know, because I think that their views towards smoking pot have probably started with Bloomberg. But look, I don't actually even blame a mayor for this. This is not a case where you can really. I mean, look, what people want to do in their spare time is fine.
Giuliani wouldn't have put up with that.
I do say this though, that when I say like it's everywhere, like I was in, like on the sidewalks. We were in a park Friday afternoon at like 2 o'clock, walking, with some colleagues, and it was really just, when I say in the air, I mean everywhere you go, it's in the air. And there has to be,
why they shouldn't allow that? You know why they shouldn't allow that?
Well, secondhand smoke for one thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you are hitting it and you blow it out, that's secondhand smoke. That's not going to do anything to you. But if you're walking around with a joint and the smoke off of it is just floating around and goes into a kid, that kid's going to get stoned.
I wonder that. And when I get to the airport last night, Friday night, I got to the airport, and inside the airport, the TSA agent who was directing me where to go for my gate smelled big time like pot. I mean, it was like Bob Marley giving me
the TSA agent did.
That's incredible.
Oh, that's a little bit scary.
And I get on the airplane, and the dude sitting across from me, big time pot smelling. And because I'm sitting down on the aisle, and so a lot of people walking past me, I bet you 1 in every 5 people that walk past me smelled like weed. Now, I'm not saying 1 in 5 had just been smoking weed, but it was pervasive on the Delta airplane.
So let me follow up on that.
So you're saying Jack Webb would have a heart attack?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel unsafe during your trip to New York while you were there?
Not really. I almost got run over by a truck at one point, so that was kind of his truck's fault, but whatever.
A menacing truck.
But no, I'm also, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on the time of day that you're walking around. I wasn't like in Hell's Kitchen at 2 a.m. or anything crazy, but
Let's address this marijuana usage, which has skyrocketed. I mean, absolutely skyrocketed. I mean, it's available everywhere we go. They made it practically legal. So, do you think that this usage has contributed to the labor shortage? And when I talk about labor shortage, I'm just talking about kids that just don't want to work. Do you think that's contributed to the labor shortage at all?
Yeah, I have no idea. And again, if people want to smoke, that's their business. I'll let them do it. I'm not going to question it. And, you know, and it might do some people some good, but I was just alarmed at it. But see, it's not, I don't think in New York, I don't think you can smoke cigarettes like in parks or out in the open.
Isn't that wild? You can't smoke a cigarette, but they let you smoke a joint. That's stupid.
And
because
it's also,
the cigarette, you know,
it has a very pervasive smell, you know, that covers a wide area, right?
It smells much more than a cigarette.
Yeah, and anyway, and I think it sticks on people.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it's not a good optic. So let's go back to the Parents' Rights Bill. Chris, you were following this bill. Any thoughts?
Yeah, the Parents' Rights Bill was a bill that the Republicans actually put together in 2021, but of course, you know, the Democrats wouldn't allow them to vote on it. So they finally did.
What does the Parents' Rights Bill do?
Well, I haven't read all of it, but
what's the basic premise?
It bans pornography from school libraries. This is when you see a Democrat saying they're banning books. Yes, they are, from school libraries. I mean, if you want to go buy it, if you're a legal adult.
Does this go back to the "don't say gay" thing? You can't have you can't have a book. Well, let me ask you this.
Well, it gets worse.
Can you have a book about homosexuality?
Does it? In this, it was showing you how homosexuals have sex. It was showing gay anal sex with men.
Okay, and those are the books. Those are the books that Republicans want banned from high school. I guess all
ages, all the
including college.
No, not college.
Okay, but all schools.
Once you're an adult, you're an adult. You know?
All schools up to high school.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Democrats think this is a bad thing.
Hold on. It also prevents the school from shielding the parents from knowing that you're helping their kid turn into something else. In other words, this bill would make it where the parents would have a right to know what's going on with their kid, which they have to know for medical reasons, for psychological reasons. I mean, we're in charge of the kids. They're not yours. They're acting like they are. And every single Democrat voted against that.
Even Virginia guy.
Everyone.
What's his name? Joe Manchin?
Well, he's a senator, I think, isn't he?
A senator. Oh, so this didn't make it to the Senate. This didn't make it to the Senate because it didn't.
Yeah, I'm sure it passed.
Oh, it did pass. Oh, it did pass.
It did pass, but only because the Republicans passed it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean, look, you know that either the Senate's going to kill it or Joe's going to kill it.
So, Pendo, give us the how what this bill does. It bans sexual orientation books.
It bans grooming. It tells the schools to get your freaking hands off my kid and quit trying to brainwash him into being him something that you want him to be.
But what specifically does it ban?
Pornography from school libraries, and they can't lie. In it says it's against the law if they lie to parents about their kids and doing the grooming and the transgendering and all that. They have to be upfront with the parents. They have to tell them what's going on.
Okay.
And get this. The parents also have a right to the curriculum that they're being taught.
Okay.
And that they have a right to a copy of it. They're voting against that. Every Democrat voted against that.
That's pretty twisted, and it sounds very reasonable. But I bet, my first thought on this, and Richard, I want to get your thoughts. The reason I would suspect every Democrat voted against it is that the school unions came out against it, right? And the school unions were probably saying the reason we're against it is because we don't want our teachers to have to incur even more liability than they have now, because some parent could sue a school, could now sue a teacher under this bill but I'm speculating. Richard, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think anything that encourages legitimate parental involvement in schooling should be promoted. And by legitimate, I mean there might be, I don't know, like 5 examples across the country of like a parent kind of going overboard. So let's not even talk about the outliers, because you could do that in any environment, you know, in the world. You know, what Chris is saying is the idea of parents having the ability to see curriculum. What's wrong with that? You know, the parents having the ability to.
Can they not see it now?
No.
Well, I would suspect, and Chris, I don't know because I didn't research this.
I've seen tons of videos where people have had to sue to get a copy of the curriculum.
I mean,
they're hiding it. Here, I can explain what's going on real quick, guys.
I suspect it probably differs from, you know, from district to
district.
Let's
let Richard finish his thoughts on it, Chris, and then we'll come back to you.
And then any kind of there's sort of you know, the old adage of the Supreme Court justice that said, "I know pornography when I see it." Anything that's like that, I don't care what it involves. You know, adults, you know, of any kind, shape, color, creed, you know, orientation, doesn't need to be in a school library. Period. Right? And you know, if it's taught in a sex ed class, then it needs to be done so under the absolute most conservative guidelines. And the parents should have a right to see ahead of time what will be taught. And then I remember, at least when I was a kid, your parent would opt you out if need be. Tim, I think you told me your parents opted you out of sex ed all the way up to 30. And that's important to be able to do.
And I'm still learning.
So anyway, I you know, so I don't see, you know, I don't know why Democrats do this. They'll kill bills. Frankly, both sides kill bills that are good bills because the other side authored them, you know. And
it's 90%. It's 90%.
No.
Yes,
no.
but it's also 90% the unions. So Pendo, you wanted to kind of break it down about what it's all about. What do you think it's all about?
But Richard, you're wrong. Democrats never put forth any good bills. Period. They don't. They just don't. Everything is to destroy this damn country. This whole thing about the parental rights bill, it doesn't have anything to do with the parents or being gay or whatever. It is to destroy this country. It is to break everything down. One of the parts of the Communist Manifesto was to, one of the reasons they said they couldn't take control yet was because of our belief in God, the family, the love of the country, and just reality itself. Is you're not going to, well, they're breaking all that down. They were in unison to make it where parents don't have rights with their kids. They were in unison of this. That's insane. A whole party doing that? All of them, every damn one of them? This is it. This is happening right now. They are trying to destroy this country. They don't put forth good bills anymore. 30 years ago, yeah, not now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, Chris, it's hard to dispute what you're saying, particularly when you reference the Communist Manifesto.
There are no moderate Democrats anymore, at least not in the House. They just proved it.
It's
not one voted for it. Not one.
It's utterly remarkable how their thesis ties in line with Karl Marx. Because I think when people refer to Democrats, say as Marxists, I think a lot of people think, oh, that's an exaggeration. They're really not Marxists. No, it's not. When you look at the basic themes of everything that Karl Marx wrote about, the basic thing, which is what you said, destroying the family, destroying God. They don't want you to be a Christian. They don't want you to be in any religion. The schools, to take over the schools. It is lockstep in line with the thesis of the Democratic Party. Richard, I want you to sum up this parents-teacher rights bill, or this parents' rights bill, rather. And is it as bad as Chris says? Is this really something that needs to be addressed? The Democrats refuse to address it. And, you know, is it something that can really be harmful long-term?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this story, but bottom line is parents should be involved in their kids' education. Parents should have an open door into the school system to be involved they should have a voice in what is taught in the school system, and the school should encourage that, and the teachers unions should get out of the way and let parents parent, is the bottom line. I think that there are other areas where, whether it's the content of video games, whether it's the pervasiveness of things like pornography, or just the music that that's sort of pushed in the culture, there is not a benefit to freedom of speech to the extent that it becomes a sort of coordinated effort to hurt our society. Now,
hey guys,
it shouldn't be banned, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't have some reasonable limits placed upon it if it's in places like the school system, right? So I'm not saying ban.
Whoa, Chris, what are you doing?
I got to go turn something down before it burns. I'll be right back.
Okay, hurry.
Hold on.
This is a live TV show.
Well,
but yeah, so,
it's just live television. No big deal.
Yeah, I watch Fox.
Well,
all the
Richard,
time.
to your point, yes. Parents should be able to be involved in every school at every level. However, I will tell you, as someone who's married to a school teacher, the more the parents get involved, which is good. No one's saying that's bad. That's a good thing. The more that the teachers have to get involved, their workload and their liability expands as involvement from parents expand. So as long as the teachers unions are strong and influential, they're going to continue to try to dilute the parents' involvement in the schools. It always goes back to the unions. So with this education dilemma, that the unions are way too strong. The unions have a much bigger voice now than the parents, much bigger voice. So as long as the unions for the teachers gain more and more power, the less power the parents will have. I'll just put it that way. Okay, so next item on the list. Well, I'm going to come back with Chris's. Okay, squatters' rights is in the news. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories.
Woo! Sorry, making black-eyed peas.
Yeah, that's okay. There's a lot of stories about squatters' rights now. Pendo, do you think that with COVID and the Democrats in charge of most of the major cities and the federal level, are private property rights being strengthened or diluted? And is it harmful to keep diluting private property rights?
I think in about 10 years, I'm serious about this. In about 10 years, if the stupid people that live in the inner cities don't start voting for normal people instead of insane people, there's not going to be cities. There's not going to be property there. Portland is basically shutting down. They've lost Walmart. They're losing Cracker Barrel. All these poor people are like, I don't have anywhere to shop. Well, quit voting for crazy people. I mean, that's what you've got. San Francisco is nothing but a big needle now. Imagine 10 years from now. Imagine after the reparations thing.
I mean, those are all solid points. Richard, do you think that the situation in the cities regarding property rights and crime is as bad as Pendo is illustrating here? Or do you think onto something that we do have a problem in our cities?
Yeah, I can't really, frankly, speak to squatters' rights on properties. I don't really know much about that. Again, go back to my trip in New York City this past week. There were homeless people everywhere. You kind of expect that, right? It's a big city, life in the big city. But it wasn't just mattresses on the sidewalk. There was literally a structure that was probably I would say 10 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet that had been constructed on a sidewalk on what would have been one of the Monopoly property streets that you see when you play Monopoly, right?
Somebody had balls.
It was a massive structure, and you
we're building right here.
Yeah, you just saw a pair of feet sticking out from underneath the curtain that had been put on it, and I just think that that's sort of a whole separate issue, is the homelessness inside cities. What can be done about it? So, Tim, I don't know if that was your original question about property rights. That's not really
To Chris's point, if it gets worse, the cities aren't going to be there anymore because the businesses aren't going to be there, and the businesses leave. People can't live there, and you have a lot of empty buildings. So, yeah, I think it's a problem. I think another 10 years of this, I think Chris brings up a solid point. I think every major city right now is very vulnerable, particularly they keep diluting the private property rights. And that was one of the cornerstones of the founding of the country, was private property rights. And it used to be you had to own property even to vote.
Tim, what I would tell you is that interesting how a lot of corporations over the last 5 to 10 years have been buying up private homes, where these property companies will buy up homes in neighborhoods and then turn around and rent them out. And there have been cities that are starting now to put restrictions on which, like, who can actually buy a home, that they're trying to force the which, that would be interesting.
That is a very slippery slope, and I'm telling you, our founding fathers would not like that, would not like government interference of private property. The intention as well, just like all liberal intentions, they start off well. But in the long run, it is very, very harmful to restrict private property rights. Pendo, what do you think of cities trying to restrict private property rights? You think long-term that's good or bad?
So people don't have any control over whether or not their kids' penises get cut off or not, but the property rights, they're worried about that. I'm still freaked out about penises being cut off in schools. I'm not in the school. It's not that the school does it. They don't. But they get them to the facilities to get it done.
It's almost like they're trying to encourage it.
They groom them into wanting to be this way.
Do you think they're trying to encourage that?
Yes. From fifth. What is the need to talk about kindergartners and sex? Why do you feel the sick?
It's almost just inconceivable. Now, pivoting over to Disney. Disney has been a major corporation in this country for decades and decades, and mostly because of its mass appeal to children. What is happening with Disney, and is it thriving or dying? I ask you, Chris Pendarvis.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to come back from this. They chose a side in the culture war, and they chose the side that doesn't have any money. And so when they make these woke projects, it doesn't sell. They don't sell because I'm not going to give him my money. Richard's not going. Tim, you're not going. But, the purple hair down the street that lives in a lean-to that thinks Billy is a girl, yeah, she's not going either because she doesn't have any money. And that's who they're catering to.
So you think they're shooting themselves in the foot here?
I think they shot themselves in the foot. Did you hear about this woman that they just fired? She was number 2 at Marvel. The reason they fired her, they're saying it's because she was involved in some little movie on the side. No, it's because she's super woke. She helped Kevin Feige destroy Marvel. It's a lost cause now. Ant-Man's dying. They have nothing coming up they're dead. They used to be able to print money. They can't print money now. This woman also was so horrible. She ran off all the effects teams. She has a real bad rep with the special effects people. So now they're not getting good special effects. So they fired her the other day. Made huge news. She's now suing the hell out of them because she's a gay Latina woman. That's why.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God. This is what you get when you hire people like this. And she's been there for quite a few years. She was number 2 in Marvel. Right under Kevin Feige.
But you're saying that she was incompetent at her job.
Well, she was very confident about being a gay Latina woman.
Okay.
She couldn't do a job for shit, but she could.
She was a woke hire, you're saying. She was a woke hire.
Well, what happened was she was under Kevin Feige getting things done. And then they decided they were going to go super woke, and they pretty much let her decide the stuff. She was the one responsible for She-Hulk, things like that. Things everybody just hates,
Okay. Okay. Richard,
so she's putting out things that everybody hates, you know, the formula they have now where the woman is perfect and the guy's just an imbecile. And
Right.
Movie
That
after
seems to be
movie
the
after movie
thesis
after
of just
movie.
about every of their
Yeah.
storylines. That seems to be the thesis now. Richard, do you think that this this wokeness that's going on in Disney, you think this is going to? Why do you think they're doing this? Do you think they're doing this because they honestly believe, their board of directors honestly believe that this is going to increase the share price, increase profits, make the company stronger, or do you think there's an alternative motive?
I think that it is poor leadership on the part of Disney, as it is of other corporations who take social consciousness, which nobody's going to disagree with. I mean, corporations need to be socially conscious. I mean, now, what that means is where the hairs get split, right? Is it that you're socially conscious and that you treat your employees well and that you provide good medical benefits when you can and that you have good and safe working conditions? Check in my mind. Do all that stuff. On the other hand, taking positions on controversial topics that your employees, much less your customers, are reasonably divided over. Like I don't go shop any longer at Dick's Sporting Goods because of the politics of their chairperson. And she has been very, very outspoken on a lot of different things that I feel very strongly about. And I just don't go shop there. And if I were a stockholder of one of those kind of companies, I would question, why are we doing this? You know, why are we trying to brand our brand under a political banner and not under good products, good service, you know?
Richard, I agree with you. Unlike LeBron James, I'm against enslavement of people. I don't like companies that enslave people by not paying them and forcing them to work as slaves like Nike does. And I guess LeBron loves slavery. I agree with you, Richard. I don't like slavery.
Well, that's a very that's
unlike LeBron James.
That's interesting.
Like Apple, for example, this week, Tim Cook at Apple was bragging about how that they work hand in hand with the Chinese government, and said that it's a model for other companies, the way that they work in, are symbiotic in their relationship with the Chinese government. That to me is not corporately responsible. But if you criticize Apple for it, there's crickets, on the part of national media and a lot of social organizations. On the other hand, it's all pick your cause, right? And
well, Apple's relationship with China is purely because of the cheaper labor, and we would be spending double the price for iPhones and iPads if the manufacturing weren't happening in China. So that I understand, because that's actually good for the shareholder. What I don't understand, and I'll give my take on the Disney thing and any other corporation that's gone super woke thing, is that a business was created and a business exists for one purpose and one purpose only. Now, when you ask, your average person on the street, well, what's the purpose of a business? Many will say, well, it's to provide a good service, or they'll say, it's to provide, employees, so they can pay employees. No, the reason for a business is to make money. I don't care what Disney was founded to make money. Okay, that's the reason for a business. And a free enterprise system, a business should be allowed to make the most money they possibly can in having any sort of policies, whether it be, a hiring policy, well, as long as it's illegal, firing policies. But Chris, you really have a problem with the wokeness at Disney. Is because you think it's against the interest of the shareholders, or you just don't like their policies?
I think it's funny as hell that the same company that's playing to the woke in the West kisses the ass of the East, who hates the woke. So by doing this, they're going to go broke, because the woke aren't going to buy their stuff, and the Chinese ain't going to buy it either. And you've pissed off the conservative and told them to go to hell. So good luck selling all that product to the blue hairs. They don't have the money. They were not your audience. Marvel had a built-in audience of white males, and they told them to go f themselves. So they did.
And Doug represents all men who wear half shirts. There you go. Your shirt half on, half off.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Richard, did you have a thought on this?
Disney should focus on movies, their theme parks, and Mickey Mouse, right? I mean, that's pretty simple.
And their core audience.
If it ain't
with Marvel, it's white males. With Disney, it's families. I mean,
you know how they keep doing the women thing. What people aren't understanding is the reason they bought Marvel was to bring the boys in. That's why they bought Marvel.
To quote my favorite rapper, NF.
And now they're against the boys, and
now
they look like idiots.
Now they're making all the Marvel movies anti-male. How stupid is that?
And Chris, to your point, women in general, they don't like the Spider-Man movies. They don't. It's the boyfriends, the husbands that are dragging them to go see that. They don't. It's not like you hear a bunch of girls going, "Hey, Susie, you want to go see Spider-Man 6?" I mean, they just don't do it. So yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. They're shooting themselves in the foot. Okay, now
it's a conspiracy at Marvel because look at the Spider-Man. Green Goblin, male. The Doc Ock, male. Venom, male. They're all just against
for a while.
Except for Thanos, he was purple.
Okay. Trump is back in the news. So
imagine that.
Imagine that, right? So Donald Trump had his first official campaign rally just last night in Waco, Texas. Tens of thousands of people there. It was a massively crowded event. What was interesting, a take on it that people are talking about and writing about today is, first of all, he addressed the issue of what happened to the district attorney in New York head on. He took that head on, but then he pivoted over to his political rivals. He is not afraid to attack Ron DeSantis. I mean, he's just not. He's just not. And I thought that this was going to hurt him. I really did. I thought, oh, you're gonna hurt yourself here. Trump's numbers have been skyrocketing the past few weeks.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with the DA in New York.
It does. But if you go to Real Clear Politics, which I think most of us consider that to be a reliable source of polling, correct? I mean, that's considered kind of the source to go to. Trump is lapping Ron DeSantis in the approval polls. Like, he has more than double. If you look at the polls between a Biden and DeSantis race versus a Biden-Trump race, guess what? Trump leads the polls in that. And I thought that was surprising. I thought that was very surprising. So it's same thing with Harris. If Harris is the nominee in 24 for the Democrats, Trump leads the polls against Harris above Ron DeSantis. So I think there's an interesting take going on here, because not one Republican I know, except me, I'm the only one that prefers Trump over DeSantis. Everyone else I've talked to says they would prefer DeSantis. So I ask you, Richard, why is Trump leading? Why does he has an overwhelming lead over DeSantis right now?
Well, because what you're referencing are polls with Republicans, not general polls. The appeal to DeSantis is not going to necessarily be to traditional hardcore conservative Republicans. Now, he will appeal to them. I'm one of those. On the other hand, the appeal to DeSantis is that he's more electable in November than he is necessarily in the Republican primary. So what you're citing are Republican polls.
But that's not true, though, Richard. If you look at the latest poll data, Trump has a bigger lead against Harris and Biden than DeSantis. So even in the general election, Trump is...
No, but he's saying the poll you're referencing is of just Republican voters.
No, that's not true. It was two polls. There were two polls. Poll number one was, who do you prefer? Republicans, who do you prefer? Trump, DeSantis in the primary. That was one poll. The next poll was the general population. Who would you vote for? Would you vote for Biden or Trump? Another question, would you vote for Biden or DeSantis? Trump leads all polls, all of them. He's ahead of DeSantis in the general election, and he's ahead of DeSantis by a wide margin in the primary. But so it's just confusing to me because I can't find one person that says, yeah, I want Trump over DeSantis. Not one. I can't find one person.
Well, hold on a second. I would rather have Trump over DeSantis.
That's the first time you're saying that.
Hold on. Just for right now. I love DeSantis. I think he's awesome.
I do too.
And I think he'd make one of the best presidents we've ever had.
I just think his time.
And I know what Richard's talking about the election, but I get that. I really do want Trump to get his damn revenge. Because I feel like it's my revenge. It's like they were coming after us, and they were just going through him to do it. You know, they're just blatantly using the FBI to go after parents. They're just blatantly using the DOJ to swamp the guy we voted for's house. I mean, come the hell on. I mean, this is like two completely different countries going on here. So I just.
But why do you think that is? But Pendo, why do you think that Trump? Why do you think Trump is lapping DeSantis among Republican primary voters?
I don't think he was a little
and leading against DeSantis in the general election. Why do you think that is?
Because I think Trump gave Alan Bragg $1 billion.
Yeah, I agree.
To do this.
Yeah, Trump is at his peak right now because people don't like a New York district attorney creating ridiculous charges to try to
country doesn't like that, you know,
to try to interfere in an election, and that's causing people to say, when you're polling me, I'm going to answer as if I'm now giving an opinion on what's going on in New York. But when that goes away and you're left with images of Trump holding a baseball bat, posted a picture next to a DA's head, that is not a good look. I mean, look, do I think this DA is out of line? 100%. But you should never have a president of the United States, current or past. Can you imagine, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that Jimmy Carter was a great president, but you imagine Jimmy Carter holding a baseball bat, posting himself with a picture next to a DA head? That's what Trump did. He ended up taking the post down, but that's a bad look. Like, don't do that. And
no, I agree.
That's stupid. And it's that kind of stuff that's going to keep him from getting the.
That's the kind of stuff I'm worried about, Tim. That I would prefer Trump be the president, but I'm afraid he's going to get up there and fucking say the wrong thing, or
here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing.
Hey, accidentally push a kid.
Was I alarmed? Look. That is alarming that Trump would have a post of him holding a baseball bat and see hit. Yes. I don't. But it is remarkable. Every time he does something that people go, oh, that's it. He's finished. He's washed up. His poll numbers skyrocket. I remember when he attacked John McCain, and everyone was like, oh, you can't attack John McCain. He made that crack about I prefer war veterans that weren't caught. I thought, oh,
yeah, that was dumb.
Good. That's bad.
That was stupid.
Guess what happened? His poll numbers went up that week. I mean, it was just
but it was for other things.
It doesn't make any sense.
Wasn't for that.
It doesn't make any sense, but yet his poll numbers still rise. When he was attacking Ron DeSantis, I'm like, oh, can't do that.
There's a difference, though.
The gap has
No, hold on. Whoa. There's a big difference. In general, people that voted for Trump hated John McCain. People that voted for Trump loved Ron DeSantis. So he needs to back the fuck off.
He's got the pedal to the metal. And he attacked him more in this speech than he ever has. I mean, he spent a good 5 minutes just taking DeSantis to the woodshed. And one of the things that he talked about the most during the speech, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see this, is attack on Ron DeSantis. He says that the reason he doesn't like DeSantis is because he feels like DeSantis was disloyal to him. That Trump did campaign for DeSantis. He endorsed DeSantis. And Trump has a good point here, and I want to ask Richard. I want to bring this to you. Do you think that Trump is right when he says, without his endorsement, Ron DeSantis would have won primary?
I don't know. I mean, no. Ron DeSantis won hands down. He just did.
Well, not the first time.
He won hands down, and and
he won hands down. But would he have without Trump's endorsement?
Yeah, there wasn't that, because here's why. The moderate Republicans, and I'm not talking about anti-Trumpers, I mean the moderate Republicans walked in there and said, am I going to vote for the Democratic candidate or am I going to vote for DeSantis? They didn't sit there and think, who did Donald Trump want me to vote for? Did Donald Trump's people go out and
Donald
vote?
Trump can get people out of their houses to go vote.
Plus, Christie really helped DeSantis. He was probably the worst candidate I've ever seen in my life.
He's run for like 18 different positions too. I mean,
awful.
it's ridiculous. But he's
done, I think, isn't he?
Well, I mean, Stacey Abrams should be done. She came out this week and said she's getting ready to run again. So I think the other thing, Tim, to answer your question about the polling variance is DeSantis hasn't declared yet. Also, there are a lot of other people still in the race. And at some point, if those people all agree to sort of get out of the race earlier, so let's say that Pompeo doesn't declare, Haley gets out of the race, Pence doesn't go in the race, all of their support is almost likely to go to DeSantis and not go to Trump. So yeah, he's probably at his peak right now. He's also peaked because of the Bragg stuff in New York. And I think that what you'll find is that he will level out a little bit. The 14-point gap that exists right now, you'll have DeSantis benefit from the other people throwing their support behind him. And I think that you'll see it a much, much closer race. And when DeSantis gets in, DeSantis is trying to be polite in responding back. And again, why does Trump feel the need to call names or to say, oh, DeSantis called me with tears in his eyes, begging for a, that's just, again, that makes me.
Yeah, he's going to fuck up, Tim.
Yeah.
He's going to fuck up doing that.
Well, you know, every time I washed up, he's finished stronger in the polls. So I don't know.
And his family's not even behind him this time. I mean, he's, you know, his kids have all come out and said, for the most part, I mean, at least his daughter did, that she's not getting involved in the campaign. That should tell you something too.
I think that's because of her husband, though. I don't think her husband wants to deal with it. You know,
he's really unlikable. That's all I'm saying.
Jared or Trump. Yeah, well,
really unlikable.
There are certain things that he turns people off, and then there's certain things about him that seems to excite people. So the jury's still out. I personally still think Trump's going to get the nomination. I think DeSantis is going to run. I think DeSantis is going to kind of smarten up and not go against him, because Trump will absolutely destroy him. Trump will destroy him. And for what? DeSantis will just get beat by Trump.
I have a prediction that if Trump does win the Republican nomination, I would not be surprised to see an independent conservative run, get Joe Manchin as a VP candidate potentially.
Well, that wouldn't be good. That split the vote. That would guarantee a lot.
Yeah, but if someone were smart and picked up a moderate Democrat as a VP,
they would still lose.
Like Kelsey Gabbard or someone. I mean, we still would lose, but maybe. I mean, that might.
We can't take the chance.
If they could siphon up off enough conservative Democrats and union
the only problem is if we have 4 more years of Joe, there is no more elections. I really don't believe it. These people already don't go by the Constitution. They already don't go by the law, and they already cheat during elections. Give them 4 more years, they'll denigrate the military even more. China will own more of our country that they already own now. We won't be around anymore.
Well, speaking of eroding, well, any final thoughts on Trump massively leading DeSantis in the polls, Richard? Any final thoughts on that? Okay, so the next item. So we had a dollar store employee, okay, who was working there, and a burglar comes in, a criminal comes in, starts stealing stuff, and in the process of his theft, punches the employee in the face, not once, but twice. So during this attack, the employee pulls out a gun to defend himself, shoots multiple bullets to the robber until he's dead. Now, was he in the wrong on that? I ask you, Chris Pendarvis, the employee of the dollar store.
The first 2 shots, I would say no, because he could easily say, I was feared for my life. I didn't know if the guy was going to pull out a gun. He already physically attacked me while robbing the store. You could easily argue in court, hey, he might have pulled out a knife and I don't know. First 2 shots I give him, he shot him 15 times. He even stood over his body and pumped like 5 more into him. So, you know, one bad guy gone, but I mean, I hope they don't give him a super heavy sentence. You know what I mean? Like,
well, the guy should get probation.
He was defending himself.
The guy should get probation at the most. I mean, at the most. I mean, the guy's defending himself. He's being attacked, for God's sake.
I know, but after
he's being attacked by a criminal.
He kept shooting him after he was dead.
So the article that I read said that the guy did rob the store, but he was shoplifting. So it wasn't like he walked up and said, "I've got a weapon, give me all your cash out of the register." So just to clarify that. And look, before I even say this, I'm clearly not advocating on the case of a criminal, like, at all. But as someone who believes in Second Amendment rights, who believes in constitutional carry rights, you've got to be responsible when you do carry. And what happened here was that the worker says to the shoplifter, "Stop shoplifting." They start arguing. And in the course of the argument, the shoplifter punches him twice in the face. And as Chris describes, the dollar store employee brandishes a weapon, shoots him 10 times.
15.
And then shoots him another 5 times after he's laying on the ground bleeding out, right?
I mean, it's a bit much.
I mean, that's like literally, I know a decent amount about handguns. I mean, that means like probably every bullet in the chamber in a decent sized clip got.
He probably reloaded.
I mean, maybe, but it's there. And so the key to it is that he told the police, "I did not see that this guy had a weapon."
Right.
They said, "Do you think he had a weapon?" He said, "I don't know. I didn't see one. I have no reason to believe he did." That is the problem, because
he could have had a concealed weapon. Look,
he shouldn't have shouldn't have said anything.
That's not the way the laws work. That's not the way the laws work. Because they also were not at this guy's house. Now, if they were at his house and the guy broke in, most states have some type of standard ground law where you could shoot sight unseen. You can shoot. Tim Mitchell walks in my door at night. I can unload on you, and then they'd be like, "That was your friend," and I would say, "Well, sorry, but it was my property," and that nothing would happen to me. But if I'm at a dollar store, I'm not in my house. So that's sort of like castle defense that you typically get the benefit of. He didn't have at a dollar store. And by not having a weapon or seeing a weapon or even having a reasonable case to think he had a weapon, then you can't use that type of.
No, that's not true. You don't have to have a weapon. I can still be in fear for my life if the guy starts to physically attack me. He could kill me. He doesn't have to have a gun to do it.
Yeah,
to do it. I don't want to be knocked out and have him kill me. So I fire. The first one I'm giving him, maybe 2, because he's nervous.
Now I have
That's seen, a bit much.
I have seen some self-defense.
I agree.
Videos, and I have heard them reference before that if you're being attacked physically and you are fearing for your life, if you pull out the gun, you empty the chamber. You just empty the chamber because you don't want it to. I've seen that before. I can't recall the exact way I saw it, but I do remember.
What if there's 72
empty the chamber because you don't know what could happen. He could get back up after a couple shots, grab the gun, and then kill you. So, I mean, I think the number of bullets that he used is irrelevant here. I think the guy had every right to defend himself. I think he did the right thing. I think the most he should get is probation, and I hope the dollar store will help fund his legal case.
I don't know.
I think the coroner probably had an easy case of determining cause of death, though. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So anyway,
and it was a poor decision to shoplift in the dollar store to begin with.
Yeah, really.
Well, the guy's no longer around. He punched the guy.
I mean, at least go to the $2 store. I mean, come on.
Yeah, if you're gonna steal
yeah,
big, right?
Yeah, he met with the wrong employee, and
there's a pretty good chance that Saks Fifth Avenue employees aren't carrying. So go to Saks. shoplift at Saks Fifth Avenue, probably pretty good chance that the 50-year-old sales associate is going to, you know, not gonna whip a gun.
Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool if the 50-year-old lady just pulled out a gun and blew him away?
Dude, I
That'd be
wish
awesome.
I wish more people who broke into stores and started assaulting employees. I hope more of them are shot. Quite
I do
frankly,
too.
maybe it'll discourage this crime wave.
Who the hell
Okay.
are you to just start physically assaulting somebody?
There, you have to really think it through. I'll tell you, as someone who supports constitutional carry, I'll put it that way, you have to think in your mind, when would I pull a gun out and when would I not? Because if you were to, you increase the chance that other people could get shot, for one thing.
Yourself, for one.
Yourself, for one, innocent bystanders, my family, the kids that are standing by, whatever it is. You're up in the ante at that point on the game.
Yeah, but you know what? If the guy knocks you out and you know you got a gun, do you really want that guy to go through and find your gun and kill you with it?
I'm just saying that's not really what I'm describing here. But what I'm saying is, if I'm sitting at a booth at a Waffle House and someone comes into a Waffle House with a gun and holds it up, depending upon how the person is behaving, if I really think that they're going to shoot someone, I would fire. On the other hand, if I think they're there just to grab some, like if I'm getting held up, for example, in the streets of New York by a mugger, I'm just going to give them my wallet and just say, here, dude. Like, because for one thing, I don't want to kill someone. Even if it's someone who is doing wrong, punching me in the face or whatever, I don't want to walk around on my conscience of having, ended life. On the other hand, if they are getting ready to take a life, and I seriously think they're getting ready to take a life, whether it's mine or yours or Chris's or whoever's, then I think that you have a responsibility to act. And that's sort of where my view is.
If I have to kill somebody,
that's fair.
If I have to kill somebody, it's going to be their fault. So I'm not going to have any.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like if someone says, give me the cash in your pocket, I don't want to kill you for that. I mean,
but the question is, should this guy? Okay, let me ask another way. Should this guy who defended himself and ended up killing this guy, should he go to jail? And if so, for how long? Ask you, Richard Sheffield.
I don't know the case to say, but he should. I think it's likely he goes to jail for at least manslaughter.
For how long?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know nothing about the law in this area.
Those kind of things are usually like 6 months.
Yeah, I'd say like 5 years.
Out in 2.
5-year sentence, 1 year and behind.
6 months, out in 2 months. Okay, well, hopefully he does not get one single day in jail. We'll have to keep following that. Okay, the NCAA
in jail. I mean, look, there are people who wave flags in the Capitol Dome on January 6th that have been in jail for a year or more. Yeah,
really.
So,
which is terrible. Okay, the NCAA tournament. Richard, any thoughts?
It has been a tournament of upsets. You have a number, I think it's 9 seed in Florida Atlantic University, which is on the beach somewhere in like South Florida. I want to say it's like Melbourne. I could be wrong, something like that. A number 9 seed in the Final Four. And then today, San Diego State University, number 5 seed in the Final Four.
That's amazing. So is there even a number 1 seed left?
No. They're all gone. All the number 1 seeds are out, and the only number 2 seed is Texas left. And then last night, I think a number, I'm wrong. I don't, my phone died, so I don't have the data in front of me, but who played last night that was like maybe a number 3 seed, I think, that advanced?
Was it Tennessee, Texas A&M? I know they were playing at some point.
No, that's not them. It was
Alabama?
No, Alabama's out.
Are they gone?
Yeah, Alabama's out. They were the number 1 overall seed. They got bumped in the Sweet 16.
Oh, that's right. I heard about that.
So at this point, 3 of the 4 teams. It's Florida Atlantic, San Diego State University.
Oh, hey, wait. You guys are forgetting a very, very big subject that has to do with sports and politics.
Wait, who's the third team in the Final Four, though?
The girls' basketball team in their IT. Or team, whatever. Is it called IT?
The NIT?
Yeah, their Final Four crap. The black girl punching the white girl in the stomach. It was Bowling Green. You don't remember that, Richard?
Oh, it was more than just a little pat in the stomach.
I know.
That was a major. That was an assault. That was an assault.
They arrested the girl. They arrested the black girl for assault.
They should have.
What they were doing is, at the end. Okay, Richard. At the end of the game, how they do the "hey, good game" thing is they go through the line.
Yeah.
That's where it happened. You can go see the video. She decks her in the gut and knocks her down. The police arrested the black woman, and the coach, the head coach of Bowling Green, I think it's Bowling Green, quit the next day, claiming, or a few days later, that it had nothing to do with this. Of course it did. She was the one that canceled their tournaments with oh God. Remember when the black girl was lying about
they're just two girls, Chris. They're not. This isn't a black-white issue.
No, listen to what I'm saying. Do you remember when that black volleyball player was claiming she was hearing racial insults to her from a white guy that was part of the other school?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Well, the Bowling Green basketball coach, this woman, canceled her game with that school. That was her. So, it's like, wait a minute. It was proved that your girl was lying about the whole thing. And she didn't care and blah, blah, blah. She's a hateful human being. Well, this happened. She quit. Now she's got hired by Cincinnati like the next day. That had to be planned. But anyway, did y'all hear about all that?
No, I didn't hear about. I saw the video clip of the girl punching the other girl, and I'm glad that the girl that did the punching got arrested.
Yeah, Richard, I don't care. I would never say it's a black girl.
There actually was another
racial, but Chris,
it pertained to this story. That's all.
It was a racial incident involved. Significant that the one that punched was what did she claim that the white girl said something racial or
Who cares? Let it go, lady. That doesn't give you the right to assault somebody.
But I know, but is that what is being reported?
Actually, when I first heard about it, I didn't even hear what you just said. I just heard she just decked her. So I don't know. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I don't know.
I think this is a case of where it's just two athletes and one punched the other. That's not good.
No. On the court, that's why it was so bad.
Has the Final Four been determined yet, Richard? Or are they still?
Hey, what about the girls? What about
the last game is being played tonight. It's I don't have it in front of me. So far the teams in the Final Four are San Diego State University is there. Tonight. I think you have Texas playing Miami, I think.
Okay.
Which is interesting because then you could have two teams from South Florida playing in the the Final Four.
And Georgia can't even get into the daggum tournament at all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's something that
they can barely get into the SEC tournament.
I try to take solace in the fact that if Florida Atlantic can be there, but so far you've got UConn. That's who else I couldn't think of earlier. UConn last night ended up beating Gonzaga.
So they're going to be playing Texas.
So UConn will play the winner of Xavier, not Miami. Xavier, Texas. No, wait, is that right? Yeah. Texas already beat Miami. So UConn plays the winner of it is Miami. Texas plays Miami at 5 o'clock today. The winner of that game will play UConn. And on the other side of the bracket, San Diego State, who's a 5 seed, plays a number 9 seed at Florida Atlantic.
That's amazing.
So you could, if Miami beats Texas, you could have a 5 playing a 4 and a 5 playing a 9 on the other side. So that would be the top ranked team left.
That's got to be the highest rated seeds ever in the Final Four, wouldn't you think?
I think it is. And I don't even know if you've ever had a 5 versus a 9 in a Final Four because a nine seed.
But not to have 1 through 4 seeds at all in the Final Four. I wonder if that's ever happened.
Look, I mean, if I told you, like, I don't think anybody in the country had Florida Atlantic unless you went there
No.
in your Final Four.
No.
And if I told you like 3 months ago, Tim, tell me where FAU is, and didn't tell you it's Florida Atlantic, that that's what it stood for.
A lot of brackets are being destroyed.
Yeah, I would have had no idea. But that's good for college basketball, right? It's good for
It's interesting.
makes a fun March Madness tournament. And I have right now, if Texas wins out, I win my company bracket. So go
Oh,
Texas.
cool.
Nice. You picked Tech. Wow.
Well, I didn't. I picked Alabama to beat Texas in the finals, but I at least get the points for Texas winning if they win. So
Okay. Okay. Chris, do you have any final thoughts or predictions?
Yes, I predict next year the winner of the national championship in basketball is going to be 2 syllables. Colgate.
Okay.
great toothpaste.
Okay.
Great toothpaste.
Richard, any final thoughts and predictions for you this week?
I think.
Trump's supposed to be arrested next week, by the way.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Says who? I heard they might drop the charges. I don't know. We'll see.
No,
Oh,
that
good.
$1 billion check to Allen went through. So
Yeah, no kidding.
Charge.
Yeah, I think that I think the Dogs win the G-Day game, for one thing. I feel pretty confident.
That is so bold. So bold.
I feel confident that happens.
you're a risk taker.
I am also excited because a artist that I follow a lot, NF, has a new album coming out. He's a guy who started out as a Christian rapper, but doesn't cuss on any of his songs. He's had his last 3 albums have gone #1 on the Billboard charts of any album.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
What is this artist's name?
NF, the letters NF, and he doesn't sing about shooting police. He doesn't sing about bitches and hoes. He doesn't sing about
Richard, you got to get him on it. You got to get him on.
Yeah. So what happened was that years ago, my son was listening to really bad, dirty rap music when he was like 12, right? He's listening to like whatever, Drake or whoever, I don't know whoever. And so
Drake's one of the cleaner ones.
okay, fair enough. I mean, I don't even know who made that up.
But I know, I understand.
And so I was listening to it. I'm like, dude, you can't listen to this. Like, just can't. And so I tried to find some clean music that still was really good, right? And NF had just come out with an album called Mansion, and it was really, really high quality stuff. And in fact, ESPN has used his music on their commercials for college football. He's been like really highly acclaimed. But so when his videos come out, his videos are typically #1 YouTube videos for a few days at least. So he's gotten a lot of following, but he's clean. He sings about faith and about mental health. He sings about, just challenges with families and things like that, but he does it in a clean way. And it's a bright spot for humanity because, if there are enough artists, whether they be actors or actresses or recording artists who sing and they aren't filthy, then the more the merrier.
Good. Good. Pendo, your final thought. Yeah, my final thought is that I think that the race between Trump and DeSantis is going to get a little testy here, and it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And I'm going to go and predict this: that Ron DeSantis, by the end of this year, he will drop out. He will drop out of the primary. Okay.
He's not even declared yet.
Well, I should say it like this. He won't declare. He just won't declare. Yeah, that's my
bold and stunning, Tim.
Yeah. So thus concludes another exciting episode of
Sanity Island. Yo,
Island.
Say hey, Sheldon. Say hey,
Keep
Sheldon.
it clean.
Hey, Sheldon.
Stay positive, everyone. Be kind.
Keep it real.
Oh, I'll try.